Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're back with another market analysis video for the month of November. Now normally I don't make two of these videos in 1 month, however with the release of Twisted League, I thought it would be a good time to maybe do two videos. Twisted League has actually had a pretty big effect on the economy and I didn't really think it would at first. A lot of existing items have been changing in price, in my opinion, due to Twisted League. And on top of that, Twisted League will have its own unique rewards which are going to affect the economy when they are released into the game. That's one thing I really haven't talked about. The new Twisted League rewards, those are going to affect the economy in a completely different way. There hasn't really been any other items like that in the past, so we have a lot to talk about today. As always, this is just my opinion. I may not be correct about everything. This is definitely not investing advice or anything like that, so take it all with a grain of salt. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and let's get started. Now the first thing I wanted to talk about today is the Twisted League rewards, or at least the tradable ones that are transferable to the main game. Now we haven't actually had a lot of items like that, and definitely not in this circumstance. Now as far as I'm aware, these items will be discontinued essentially, at least for a while. At the end of the league, only a certain amount of these things will be able to be claimed, and after that, no more can come to the game. Now that is already pretty unique as far as old school RuneScape items, because the mod team has very specifically said that they don't want unobtainable items in the game or discontinued items. Now the item isn't really going to be discontinued because it will most likely be available in future Twisted Leagues, or at least a version of it. However, I think for a bit of time there will be no more supply of these items coming into the game. Now on top of that, what makes this even more unique is these items are going to be coming into the game in a kind of dump form. I'm not sure if that's the proper terminology for it, but what I mean is they're all going to be coming into the game at once. Now how it works is at the end of the league, you'll be able to convert your league points into rewards, and each of the new rewards have a league point cost. They range from 1,000 league points all the way up to 10,000. Now I think anyone who is reasonably active in the Twisted League will be able to afford the most expensive rewards in game by the end of the 2 months. So after Twisted League is done, everyone will be claiming their rewards and converting them to the main game all at once. And that's going to mean that all of these items are going to be coming into the game at the exact same time and hitting the economy at the exact same time. Now what's going to be kind of interesting is actually maybe selling your item first may not be the best choice. It could still be the best choice because the demand at first for these rewards are very high and people are willing to pay inflated amounts of money for it. But on the other hand, waiting could be just as good because there's a finite amount of items coming into the game, and as people buy them up, claim the rewards, if you actually hold on to your item, it could be worth way more potentially. You just want to make sure that you sell it before the next Twisted League actually starts. Now for the actual rewards, there are a few different ones I think are going to be very desirable. There is the Slayer Helm Recolor, which is 6,000 league points. I'm probably going to try to get that. There's also the Home Teleport Animation Scroll, a POH Wall Kit Recolor, a cosmetic outfit, and a cosmetic banner. Now it's pretty hard to predict the price here because we don't really know how many people are playing Twisted League, how many people are going to get these rewards, but I would guess maybe the Slayer Helm Recolor being the most desirable, maybe between 50 mil and 100 mil. I could be way off base with that, it's kind of hard to say. My guess is that the first people to actually get their offers into the GE might actually sell it for 100 mil, gonna quickly drop down and then slowly rise up for the next month or two until the next Twisted League starts. So just based on the point value, I'd guess the Slayer Helm Recolor, maybe 100 mil, the Home Teleport Animation, maybe 20 mil, the POH Wall Kit maybe 50 mil, and the banners could range from maybe 1 mil to 50 mil. But it's really going to be a race right on the release date for the first people who want to try to get it in there, because everyone will have the ability to get it at the exact same time. It's going to be hectic. So now I wanted to have a look at a few items in the main game that are getting affected by Twisted League. One big one that we did talk a little bit about last time and every time really is the old school RuneScape bond. Now there are a lot of reasons for the bond being extremely expensive right now. However, we can see a notable increase right around the release of Twisted League, going from around a 5 mil a bond average up to 6 mil a bond, and even kind of peaking at 6.5 mil recently. Now, as I mentioned in the other video, there are a lot of reasons for bonds being expensive, but I think Twisted League actually jump kicked it even more, as I think a lot of players who maybe quit for Twisted League just came back and bought a bond to try it out. Twisted League inherently is a short game mode, so I think paying for membership with bonds is going to be pretty popular. I think a lot of players only expect to maybe play for 2 weeks, which makes the bond very enticing. And because of that, the demand for bond prices have gone up without an increase in supply means, well, the price is going to be more expensive. Normally there is an ebb and flow to bonds going up and down with a steady increase, but we can see a more notable increase over the last 2 weeks. Now I wanted to have a look at some other items here. A lot of people have been messaging me recently asking how these certain items have been affected by Twisted League. So let's have a look at some of the more popular items and see if there's anything notable that was affected. Now first up here, I'm looking at the Abyssal Whip. And the only notable thing that kind of jumps out at me is the volume. The letter E here is where Twisted League was released, getting pretty close to 2 weeks ago. And one thing we can really see here is the volume bought and sold gets cut in about half, if not a third. Now that is a very significant drop off in volume. So a lot of players that day and continuing on into the next couple of weeks flipped over to Twisted League, which means all of that got taken out of the main game economy. However, we can see that the price wasn't really affected. It seems to be continuing on its monthly trend. And I think the reason is that the players' supply as well as demand were taken out of the main game at a similar rate, which didn't actually have much of an effect on the item's price. So yes, there are less people killing Abyssal Demons, but there's also less players buying Abyssal Whips as well. And I think if that ratio remains constant, then we don't really see much of a price change. Another item we have here is the Toxic Blowpipe. Around the release of Twisted League, it was around 5 mil. However, now it's closer to 4 mil. So it has seen a pretty drastic decrease in the last couple of weeks. The day that Twisted League was released, probably about half the volume once again. So in this case, it's possible that less players are buying Zulrah Scales, less players are buying Blowpipes. However, there's an equal amount of bots running. That's one thing I was kind of interested in, as bots are definitely not going to be switching over to Twisted League, so the botting population and the botting supply of items, resource items, PVM items, whatever, most likely won't be affected. However, the demand from real players will be, which I think will actually decrease the price of a lot of items. On the flip side, we have items that have been increasing in price pretty drastically, like the Varax armor set, for example. At the beginning of Twisted League, it was around a mil, and now it's upwards of 1.1 mil, even peaking at 1.2 mil almost. And a very similar story for the Arims armor set. There could be other factors here, but one easy explanation is there are less players doing barrows, or less high level players doing barrows, but there is possibly the same amount of people who need this armor set because it's fairly mid-level, thus causing a price increase. Now, speaking of botting items, I was very surprised when I went ahead and looked at a few popular ones to actually see that they were increasing in price. So either Jagex has been doing a better job of banning the bots, or for whatever reason, there are less being made, because raw sharks have actually increased to, for the first time in quite a while, over 1000 GP. Like, look at that, from September they were at 600 each, and they've been going up very drastically, and they are at the highest point they've been in over a year. Which is very impressive. Always good to see that, in my opinion, although it kind of sucks for people who are using sharks. Another very heavily botted item here is the Red Chinchompa. Again, back in September, worth around 1.2k. Now currently worth 1.7k, so a very quick increase. Now that is definitely not the case with all heavily botted items, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. Okay, now to talk about a few interesting items that aren't really related to Twisted League, but have been seeing really big movements over the last month or two. Okay, one item I'm not sure if I actually ended up mentioning in the last episode is the red spider egg. This item has been on probably one of the biggest price increases I've seen in a long time. Let's go back to the quarter here and we can see a very interesting story. So pretty steady at around 100 GP until sometime in October, where it quickly jumped up to 300 and even peaked at 500 in November. Now they did remove this from the Nightmare Zone shop, but I believe that was actually before October, so I'm kind of interested to see why that all of a sudden happened mid-October. But this really just goes to show that there are not a lot of good ways to actually get red spider eggs in the game. You either have to pick them up, get them from Sarachnis, and those are really the only two main methods. Okay, another item here is the Amulet of Fury. Really any Onyx item has been decreasing very rapidly over the last month or two, partly due to Zulcano and a lot of Onyxes coming into the game that way. But on top of that, they are linked to the price of Chaos Runes, because you can trade Chaos Runes in for Tokkul and then Tokkul in for an Onyx. Kind of a weird roundabout method, but Chaos Runes have decreased a lot over the last month or two, so it kind of makes sense that Onyxes have been affected as well. Okay, let's have a quick look at the Arcane Spirit Shield. Now, for those who didn't watch yesterday's video of mine, well, there is a proposed best in slot offhand mage weapon, or mage shield, which is essentially way better than the Arcane Spirit Shield. So we can see how quickly that price got affected from 140 down to 130 in a single night. That is a very significant decrease, bringing it to a 4-month low all in one day, which is huge. Personally, I would expect it to recover a bit as it's just speculation. We're not even sure if the new offhand item is going to be in the game, but it's pretty interesting how even speculation can affect prices so drastically. Alright guys, that is going to be it for today's video. So I'm really interested to track the economy over the next month or two. For one, the new unique rewards from the Twisted League. I'm really interested to see the price that they fall at, as well as how the economy overall is going to get affected over the next couple of months. A lot has been happening this month, and December is looking just as busy. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, I would appreciate it if you left it a like, and I will see you next time.